Jerusalem and Paris, and also people like Ahmadinejad has to placate his war hawks in Iran. But I think there was a little bit of a monkey wrench thrown into these plans when the U.S. Navy rescued about a half dozen or so, or about a dozen Iranian fishermen who had been captured by Somali pirates. Now, the U.S. Navy and the Iranian Navy and also the Iranian Revolutionary Guard do maintain protocols to avoid incidents in the Gulf, and these have been very successful. So there are communications constantly between the U.S. Navy in the Gulf and the Iranian Navy and military. And I think the fact that the U.S. Navy rescued these dozen Iranian fishermen really was probably not very popular amongst some of the war hawk neocons here in Washington. They probably would have rather had the Somali pirates keep those Iranian fishermen. But I think that there's wiser heads. Wiser heads are prevailing right now, especially in the U.S. Navy. The Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, and they have to deal with the Iranians on a daily basis. And obviously, they don't want to see any kind of war because they know, our fleet is pretty vulnerable to Iranian missile attacks over there. And as you mentioned, asymmetric warfare. Iran has a lot of influence in Iraq. And look, not all the U.S. troops have left Iraq. There's still, at certain bases there, we still have the private security contractors there. We still have a whole load of State Department personnel there. And these people would all be sitting ducks if the Iranians decided to activate their allies in Iraq. So the Pentagon probably more than anyone else knows what's at stake if these war hawks get their way.
Now, Wayne, I want to put out a nuanced statement here because our detractors will always do what they do. They'll always build straw men that don't really represent who we are or what we are, and then go out and have a sword battle with the straw man and claim that they've defeated it. But if you go back into October to November, it was all over the Israeli news, all over the European news that a strike was imminent. The Washington Times reported that Netanyahu wanted it. He believes politically that'll make him popular. And then right on time, all of my military sources said, yeah, it's on. We're being told, get ready. Move the troops to Kuwait out of Iraq, get ready to back up the attack, getting troops covertly into Israel, now admitted months later. And the point is they were moving and green lighting. So we said, get on air, call Congress, tell them don't do this, get pressure on the military, listen to the former admirals, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mullen, who said it was a disaster, the former head of Mossad, who Netanyahu fired because he wouldn't go along with this. This is not a good idea. Even the top globalists are having a fight on this. And then they spin it and say, oh, we're always hearing about war with Iran. It's never going to happen. And then now it's in the news that they're moving towards a strike. Israel says they may strike. But the establishment puts out their operatives to say, oh, that's ridiculous. There's not going to be a war, so that we can't build opposition. Same thing with the NDAA. The first month, they have a debate saying it doesn't affect citizens. Then later they say, you bet it does. After they'd already passed it, then Obama signed it. He said he wouldn't sign it to kill opposition because, well, he's not going to sign it anyways. These are tactics. You've learned them. I've learned them. You've been on Capitol Hill for decades. I see on C-SPAN there writing notes during these hearings. But the public gets fooled by these tricks, so they keep pushing for war while separately saying it's asinine that they're going to have a war as a psychological tactic so that we can't build an opposition to it. Then if we're successful and back off war for the third or fourth time, as we know 5 years ago, Cheney was about to do it, attack our own ships. New Yorker magazine, Cy Hirsch, is the same thing. Then when we're successful backing them off, oh, see, there was never a threat. Do you agree with how I'm breaking down their psychological operation or PSYOP? And do you concur with what I'm saying?
Well, of course, and we have the master of this cognitive dissonance, Cass Sunstein, is basically the propaganda czar for the Obama White House. So, you look at all his friends and colleagues, and even his wife, Samantha Power. She's the person who's dreamed up all these Arab Spring revolts and these themed George Soros-type color revolutions all around the world. And some of them, obviously, the one in Iran failed. The one in and Tunisia and Egypt were successful, although they're probably ruining the fact that they even supported the one in Egypt. But I think you're correct. Yeah, this is a propaganda. Most of this is a propaganda war where they're just trying to get into people's heads, make them think something when in fact they're doing something entirely different.
From your decades of research, and I respect your analysis, your view on this, what do you think is going to end up happening with Iran? Or what are the 2 or 3 different probable scenarios that we're going down?
Well, we already know that this, the New York Times, once again, as is its wont, has put out this false information about Iran trying to develop a nuclear weapon. This is the same nonsense that Judy Miller was putting out when she worked for the New York Times. We're seeing it play out again. There's been really no change in that program. It's still CIA came out in 2003 with a new finding that Iran did have some nuclear weapons intentions, but it is basically a peaceful nuclear power program now. But they're still pushing this meme that Iran wants a nuclear weapon, and as long as they do that, they're going to have support from some of these little Republicans.
All right, stay there. I want to hear where you think all this is going, and the war rhetoric intensifying. Wayne Madsen's our guest, WayneMadsenReport.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com and, of course, PrisonPlanet.tv. We'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock, but stay with us. More coming up.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com. In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA, from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, shipyards, tow line, or boating. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive 100 feet of 550 paracord free with purchase. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
In the event of an emergency, do you really trust Obama and the federal government to provide for you and your family? Modern-day emergencies like floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, snowstorms, terrorist attacks, or anything else can strike anywhere, leaving your family vulnerable. That's why you can't afford to be without emergency food supplies. If you're like most people, you know that you need emergency food supplies, but you keep putting it off. So, to help you, Ready Reserve Foods is offering a free sample kit of emergency food so you can test our food for yourself. The food really is free. You simply pay for the shipping and we'll send you the food for free. To get your free sample kit of emergency food, simply call 800-453-2202 or visit ReadyReserveFoods.com. Again, that's 1-800-453-2202 or ReadyReserveFoods.com. Don't wait. Call now because the free sample kits are limited. So call 800-453-2202 or ReadyReserveFoods.com.
Big Berkey water filters are in high demand. Storable foods are also in high demand. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has always kept our focus on the Berkey water filter products. But increasingly, our customers have been asking for storable foods. After months of research, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com now offers great tasting, long-lasting, storable foods. These ready-to-eat meals are packed in airtight nitrogen pouches. All you do is just add water. And because they're sealed so well, they come with a 25-year shelf life. Combine our Berkey water filters, which are powerful enough to purify treated, untreated, or even stagnant pond water with our storable foods, and you have a winning combination. Remember, we offer free shipping on every order over $50, and GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com or call 877-99-BERKEY. That's BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com or call 877-99-BERKEY today.
The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Okay, we've got Wayne with us till 5 after. Then it's going to be your phone calls and a bunch of news for the rest of the third hour. But going back to Wayne Madsen, investigative journalist, former officer at the National Security Agency in very secretive areas, joins us with his perspective on Iran. Colonel Shaffer was on during the last hour, and he said yes, and he hasn't talked like this before. He said, yes, it's moving in the direction towards an attack on Iran as an October surprise. But that's not foregone conclusion. Cooler heads may prevail in the military, and I'm getting that that's basically what you're implying.
But you really can't divorce what's going on with Iran and the saber-rattling from the presidential campaign. There's only 2 Republican candidates who are dead set against going to war with Iran, and that's Ron Paul and somebody we hardly ever hear about. He gets less attention than Paul. That's Buddy Romer from Louisiana. But all the rest of them are trying to outdo one another on who's going to nuke Tehran first, especially Rick Santorum. And I have a story up today, 2 stories up about Santorum, why he has surged ahead. The man was on the board of directors for the Israel Project, which is a totally pro-Likud think tank here in Washington with deep pockets, and his 2 advisors, his 2 chief foreign policy advisors, are none other than Michael Ledeen and Richard Pearl. If you remember who those individuals were, they were the chief architects and cheerleaders for the U.S. Intervention in Iraq, and they're certainly at the forefront of those who are calling for the overthrow of the quote-unquote mullahs in Iran.
So continuing along those lines, are we closer to war?
Well, I think what we're going to see here is it's all going to be based on the presidential campaign. Now, Romney, of course, has also called for U.S. troops to not only go back into Iraq, but get into it with the Iranians. But, we know that Mitt Romney is a virtual, this guy will bend with the wind. He sticks his finger up in the air and sees which way the wind is blowing. But I don't see Romney. If Romney's the nominee, I think that this war talk will diminish. But if it's somebody like Santorum or a Newt Gingrich, who's also in bed with these war hawks, then I think we're going to probably see Obama try to get from under the issue by at least covertly supporting an Anglo-Israeli and maybe French attack on the Iranians. You mentioned that the U.S. troops now are now stationed in Israel, and they're especially for anti-missile defense there. So I think we've got the baseline for either over U.S. military action or covert action using the Israelis, British, and French as sort of as a cover for us. But I think all this depends on the presidential election, because Iran, because of this constant drumbeat for war by most of these Republican candidates, Obama's going to have to respond somehow to that.
Well, you're right. We're going to come back in a moment for 5 more minutes, and I want to get your take on Jesse Ventura. The reason I've covered this quite a bit is that it's now been confirmed to be a complete lie. They hired Ventura at MSNBC and then fired him, but kept him under contract and threatened to sue him if he talked bad about the war. And he was under contract for 3 years. Now they're just trying to assassinate his character, claiming he's reckless driving in California when he's in Minnesota. That was a fraud. Now claiming he says he loves it when troops die at a wake in front of people. This comes right out of Central Casting. He's totally denied it and is, of course, going to sue everybody involved. And he's not litigious, but he will sue people. He's well known for it. But Fox News and others just don't care.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
When you're out on the road, the last place you want to be is on the road. But if the unfortunate happens, you'll be glad you were wearing diamond gussets.
There's a place down in Tennessee where they make blue diamond gusset jeans. They so pride in their